Well, good morning to everybody that's joining us this morning. Well, good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Thank you for once again joining us in yet another webinar in our series dealing with ESG and what all that entails. I know I've previously did a webinar on the financial reporting standards around ESG, IFRS S1 and S2. There have been others, and today we're talking about the term greenwashing and what does greenwashing mean and the risks to greenwashing. Joining me is Joyce, who's our head of quality in RSM South Africa, and my name is Michael. I'm one of the audit directors. I will be looking at what greenwashing really is. It's a term that maybe a lot of us aren't familiar with, and we might not be used to. So I'm just going to briefly explain what greenwashing is, what by definition what it is, and looking at and different characteristics of the definition and explaining those further. And then I'll hand over to Joyce, who will be going through what the reporting risks are in relation to greenwashing and hopefully how we can avoid those. So getting straight into it, let's look at what greenwashing is defined as. So greenwashing is defined as a deceptive practice of making exaggerated or misleading claims about the environment, about environmental benefits of a product or a service or a company, often to portray false image of environmental responsibility and appeal to environmentally conscious consumers. So it is pretty much painting a picture that's not true about a product that you might have or a service that you might offer or a company as a whole that is not about being environmentally responsible and the things that you are doing or a company might be doing or the benefits a product has to the environment that aren't really true. And obviously then misleads your environmentally conscious consumers. So just moving into that definition just a little bit further and looking at different aspects thereof. Firstly, we're going to look at what does it mean by misleading claims. So greenwashing makes misleading claims or exaggerated claims, environmental benefits about, like I said, the products and the services of a company. So if a company is reporting that their product has a certain environmental benefit, or the service they provide has a benefit to the environment, or a company is environmentally conscious, but yes, they're not, those misleading claims are an example of greenwashing. It's also deceptive marketing. It often entails using marketing techniques to portray a company as being more environmentally friendly than they actually are, without substantial evidence to support the claim. So they might, again, advertise that they are environmentally conscious or environmentally friendly, but really they've got nothing that backs that up, and if there's no evidence that they've done that actually backs that up. Then what it does do is it's really token environmentalism. It's something that sometimes companies engage in greenwashing by undertaking really minimal environmental efforts or making insufficient changes really, but they try to do the minimum purely for the purposes of marketing and saying that they are environmentally friendly and using those marketing techniques really to paint a picture that's not actually true. Then what it also, I think the two other factors that are quite important to realize, it's confusing for the consumer. So, greenwashing can confuse consumers who there are out there in the world that we live in today, or that are genuinely seeking out environmentally responsible products and services. And the world is changing. We know that more and more. It's in the news where people are considering the environment. And, and if you're portraying something that is not true, it's misleading to those people who are environmentally responsible, and it leads them to make the wrong choices or bad choices or incorrect choices based on the false or incorrect information that a company might be putting out there in around their environmental responsibilities. I think a big issue, and I know Joyce touches on this as well, is that it undermines trust. Ultimately, greenwashing undermines the trust between a business and its consumer, eroding the confidence that and the sustainability efforts, and hindering the progress towards genuine environmental stewardship. If you aren't doing it properly, if you and companies find out, if you are greenwashing and consumers find out, it really breaks that trust and it erodes confidence in the company, and could really genuinely hurt a business or a product that it might sell or a service that it might offer. So as I said, that was just very, very briefly just explaining what greenwashing is and understanding what greenwashing is. So just like a bit of a background. So I know it's a new term that's out there in the market that we're all learning to understand, along with ESG and all that comes with. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to hand over to Joyce, who's just going to spend the rest of the time just going through what the risks of greenwashing are within financial reporting. So, if customers are greenwashing and painting a picture that's not true, what are the risks thereof, and what could that result in? So, thank you very much, and over to you, Joyce.
Thank you, Mike, and good morning, all the participants. In terms of what greenwashing risks are, it really refers to potential negative consequences of misleading or exaggerating environmental claims or practices, which can damage companies' reputation, as Michael has noted, and credibility and bottom line. And when it comes to risk, one always asks is to say, whatever action that I'm doing for the company or whatever objective that I've got, what is it that can go wrong? And therefore, what's the impact thereof, which becomes quite important to make sure that you are aware of what the result can be of misleading claims that can be put out there for purposes of reporting on ESG, because the aim of ESG is really looking at sustainability reporting to say, what is it that we are doing around our environment socially to improve that which is around us? And the moment we start not being honest and not putting out the appropriate reporting out there, that may actually make our environment get worse and therefore not improve our social environment as well. So that is very important to understand. If we move to the different types of risks that one can actually have as a company, when the reporting is not truthful, is not honest, it's really loss of trust from customers or consumers, because the aim is really to tell the customers how are you socially helping them and environmentally improving the environment, which you may have what you call it, may have damaged due to the business, the way you operate a business. An example would be a mine, or any of the products that you produce that produce carbon emissions, which impact the customers that are staying around there. So not being truthful to it can really result in loss of trust, and that may impact your sales and really brand loyalty, where you're not able to manage to get new customers or even break through the market. Another risk that is there also is reputation damage to your business, because customers, you would imagine, if they're unhappy with how you've reported or what you have done within their communities or within their areas, they will start by a negative media coverage. That could be the newspaper articles that goes out there, and it's really very difficult to get around those things, because they stay in the media for quite some time. The same with social media. Backlash, it stays there and they damage the company's reputation. You'd all agree with me that it takes long time to build trust and reputation, but it really takes one mistake to actually break that trust and to make people be skeptical about the product, be skeptical about the company itself and its initiatives. And another risk that you face as a company also, it's with greenwashing. Some of the jurisdictions have regulations around different products that are being produced in the country. And therefore, if you don't comply with or report appropriately, that may result in legal action because people around the communities we've seen, especially in South Africa, especially around the mines, where individuals have been working there, but they haven't really been compensated well. And you find that the people around there are now are raising legal action against the companies that are no longer even operating in those areas, because those had long-term consequences. And that may result in fines and obviously regulatory penalties, where you also license that to operate is actually taken away from you to produce that product. And therefore, that makes your business quite difficult to continue. The next one, we move to competitor backlash. As you reporting, your competitors are also looking, and obviously they may call it out to say no. That is not what is happening actually in our industry, and obviously highlighting your product as the one that is have shortcomings. And obviously, if that is the case, you can just imagine the impact on the company's reputation and the sales that it can have on overall in terms of breaking into any industry. And that will have a huge impact on the overall industry as well, because no one wants to operate in an industry that is seen as not being trustworthy. That obviously impacts everyone, and therefore that is why there is a closed circuit when it comes to the competition, to the competitors also not being happy if you're not reporting genuinely. Then we've got internal stakeholder distrust, which is your employees, your investors may question your company's integrity and commitment to sustainability, whereby your own employees, you may end up losing good employees that are meant to take your company forward, because your values as the company do not align to those of the individuals, because they can see that what you say you do, it's not what you actually do on the ground, because they've got the information internally. And therefore, the company's integrity is very, very critical to the employees. The investors may pull out funds, which then makes it very difficult to grow as a business. And obviously, even the board members that may have been supporting the company may also move away, and therefore that obviously when everyone moves away from the company, then it becomes really a challenge for the business to continue operating successfully. So then greenwashes may also result in wasted resources. This is where now we've got initiatives that are planned, but they're not diligently done. An example would be a donation that is given to an organization to improve their communities around them. However, there are no processes in place to ensure that actually the improvement is taking place, the monitoring is there. And as a result, you end up wasting resources. Yes, you may report to say, I have contributed 200 million to the community, but the community is not getting the benefit. If it was the roads that were meant to be built, those are not being built. And therefore, that is really would be hindering actual environmental improvements that could be happening around the communities that you are working in and around the environment. So it's very important that whenever resources are put forward for these sustainability initiatives, that real progress is actually made, and real progress is measured, is looked at by the company, and verifiable in many instances. Then if we move on to the next one, missed opportunities could also happen where if the company is not genuinely reporting, because what would happen there is that you miss an opportunity to innovate and lead in the industry that you're working in, because you're focusing on, let me do this quickly, or let me report that I've done this, when you actually haven't really tackled that industry reporting requirements accordingly. And therefore, as an organization, you would miss the opportunity to actually improve or innovate or lead in that industry that you are working in, because you are focusing on the wrong efforts. So you need to be careful and make sure that you balance your sustainability initiatives, and also that it helps you to be the leader in the industry that you are working in. Then we move on to customer skepticism. This really relates to customers that, since you might have reported incorrectly in the past, even when you are being truthful, they may not believe you. And if that is the case, then all your genuine sustainability efforts may not be effective in helping the company to achieve that which it sets itself for. So it's very important to make sure that we avoid the overuse or abuse of environmental claims, because that can lead to customers moving away from the business, even when we have genuinely corrected it. As I've said earlier, it takes a long time to build trust, but to break it takes a very small mistake that can actually cost the company its future at the end of the day. Then we spoke about industry-wide reputation, especially when it comes to the competitors, where you enter an industry and you start reporting incorrectly. If one or two mining companies or any companies that are increasing carbon emissions are reporting incorrectly, are not being factual, that obviously affects everyone else who's doing good in that industry. And therefore, it makes it harder for companies to communicate their genuine sustainability efforts, and to make sure that at all times, whatever that is being reported is what is being done. So you need to think beyond your company, beyond your objectives. The reason why the sustainability reporting is there is to make everyone accountable, to ensure that around your communities, around your your area that you operate in, or in the country that you operate in, you actually are contributing to reduce the environmental effects that are caused by the products that are put out in the market. Then there's also long-term consequences that greenwashing may have on businesses, because that obviously increases if an industry has been known for greenwashing or reporting incorrectly. That makes it very difficult to pick up the momentum in the future. And that obviously affects everyone else that is entering into that industry, and therefore makes it very difficult for the economy to grow, because economies are dying because people are not reporting appropriately. And therefore, it's very important that that is looked into and made sure that we do not break the reputation and the credibility of the industries we are operating in, to ensure sustainability at the end of the day. So with those risks in mind, so now one can say, how do we then avoid greenwashing? What can we put in place? We've put a couple of pointers there that can definitely assist in making sure that there is a build-up to the appropriate sustainability reporting, which is aligned to various practices that are out there. Michael spoke about the IFRS standard that are being put out there that in the future would need to comply with. So how do you avoid being accused of greenwashing? It's really, firstly, as an organization or a company, you need to define and maintain a robust ESG governance program. Basically, what that means is that you need to have your board, you're looking at the ESG governance process. There are certain companies in South Africa, for example, that are required to have a social and ethics committee. That is where that can be housed. Have a specialist in your organization or someone that, or a consultant, which RSM also provides that, to assist you to build a robust ESG governance process and identify real sustainability efforts that are going to make an impact in your environment, to ensure that there are reporting mechanisms internally, and that is then addressed. So that would involve also continuous reporting internally, putting together a plan, a policy, a plan, and a risk register of those initiatives that you have in place, and actually monitoring what are we doing really on the ground, and are we really achieving the objective we are. If we are not, let's change the program that we have put in place, because our aim as an organization is to achieve sustainability reporting that is relevant and appropriate and truthful. And then another area that companies could also look at is really educate all those involved in reporting process through relevant education program. It may mean that you don't have that capacity at the moment to go and educate a whole environmental specialist, or you don't have resources financially to hire someone permanently. Then you look for consultants that can assist you, that understand your area of operation, your business better, and then they will be able to put together an education or training program that is relevant for your teams, your management teams, your directors, your managers, the people that are working on the ground, that are responsible for health and safety of the people on the ground, and those that are going out there and presenting the company's sustainability initiatives. Then keep up to date with the changing regulatory landscape, because that obviously assists in making sure that you are relevant in the industry that you operate, and you ensure your business is ready to adapt should there be a change. So have a process in place to identify the changing regulatory changes and prepare for that. Because that makes a difference in how then you ensure compliance. Then perform scenario planning for potential greenwashing risks, to ensure that reports are based on verifiable information. So identify your reporting areas or your initiatives, and get someone look at the information to see whether what you are reporting could be a greenwashing of that initiative, or is it a genuine reporting, by making sure that there is verifiable information. Then above all, apply integrity and ethical reporting principle at all times. If all fails, if you apply this, you would know when something is right, when something is wrong, and therefore that then helps you to ensure you remain grounded in that which you intended to do, which is achieving the sustainability reporting that aligns to the social and governance principle. And then in a nutshell, in summary, we're saying really to avoid the greenwashing risks that could come about, companies should prioritize transparency at all times, internally and externally. Honesty is one of the critical aspects, which links back to integrity and ethical principle we spoke about, to ensure that even your own employees can vouch for you, to say internally, we take in a social and environmental governance principles very seriously, and therefore even externally, when we say we have done it, we have actually have done it, and we've got evidence for it. So that is very important, and making your employees aware of that. Then authenticity in your sustainability communication and practices, it's very important. Avoid putting out there comments that are not verifiable, or that are not supported by data internally. If something is not right, rather say it is not right, and put in place genuine efforts of how you're going to improve it going forward, instead of camouflaging the reporting, and then people can see through it that this is not appropriate. So in a nutshell, say what, make sure that what you say you do is actually what you have actually done, and be honest about your reporting, and ensure that at all times the company is genuinely working towards sustainability practices that can make sure that your products are not impacted at any point in time. I'll hand over to Mike. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joyce. Yes, and as we've seen in the industry, ESG is moving very fast. The reporting requirements, the having to report on it, having to consult on it, having to disclose what impact the company is having on the environment and on its society around it, is moving at a very, very fast pace. But it's a very, very interesting topic. So as you were speaking, Joyce, what reminds me is the old saying, practice what you preach. And this is really what it is to practice to what you say you do, make sure it is actually what you're doing, and that is what you are communicating and disclosing to your stakeholders. If there are any questions, please feel free to drop us an email. There are both our email addresses. We do have experts internally. If you are wanting to know more about ESG or ESG reporting, or be it whether you need some consultants as to what it's all about, or you might need assurance work done on your ESG reporting, or maybe just how to do the reporting, putting the reports together, please get hold of us or let us know. And we thank you very, very much for joining us this morning, and we hope you have a great day further. Thank you very much, everybody.